gotten Probius in the past, Chromie in the past when Chromie wasn't played as often, Nova even on Brax's holdout, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that, and Fnatic to make sure that if that map pops up, they are prepared.
Now, there's one thing about Battlefield that we have to state straight off, and it is that both of these teams have played the map twice. Fnatic has 2 victories on Battlefield of Eternity, and so do the Zealots. So both of the teams currently with a 100% win ratio on Battlefield of Eternity. It's still the Zealots map pick, since they feel they are stronger here, and Fnatic starts things off with a ban on ETC. So leaving a few heroes open that we discussed in the past as high priority in bans, and that's of course Abathur and also Genji. Both of them have been highly contested in Europe and oftentimes banned out, and the Zealots have to make a choice here.
What are they going to choose to move into? As for composition, what they ran last time that we had them here, they ran the Li Ming and the double front line with Arthas and Sonya. Now Sonya's fallen off in the last couple of weeks for our teams, but we can definitely have that shouted in there for someone else, because Shad is someone that is very flexible on that support role, so you can make sure that you have that front line set up and ready to go.
Yeah, Fnatic also, they really love to ban out ETC on this map. This is now the 3rd time that they banned ETC first on Battlefield of Eternity. Yeah. So it's definitely one of those maps that has different rules, simply because with the 2 lanes, and it's played slightly differently with all the aggression that we have on a normal 3-lane map, where you will focus on macro game more so than team fighting. But on this map in particular, Fnatic really has ETC as a go-to ban every time they head into it.
Well, it makes sense. You have the 4-mans that are set up on the bottom side, but also around the Immortal. An easy setup onto a stun into an Immortal stun is very accessible for an ETC player, so I can see why Fnatic wants to get rid of that.
Yeah, it's just interesting that they themselves don't really care if they ban him on the 1st spot or the 2nd spot, so they don't even want to head into ETC as an early pick. They just simply say, we have other options here that we can pull, but we want to focus on the damage first, which we can now see with Greymane. Of course, a fantastic hero overall, but also a hero at the same time that really caters towards the objective. And if you look at what's currently missing in the draft, with Zealots now going into Hanzo and Uther, we haven't seen Genji yet.
And Fnatic has to wonder if they want to move in to that Genji. Genji good for jumping into that backline and getting a Hanzo. Well, we've been seeing Uther lately picking up the Benediction at 16, but also Divine Storm to lock down a Genji that might dive forward and make sure the team can delete him quickly. So Fnatic has to worry about that if they want to grab into him. And they do. They pick up the Genji, and they also get Tyrael to aid the dive.
Yeah, Genji and Tyrael. So already 3 heroes that very well sync with each other. We have the engagement with Tyrael using the Sanctification, and then of course you have the immediate Greymane jump into the fight. Genji can capitalize on that as well. And let's not forget that with all the core calls that we have seen from Fnatic, Tyrael is a fantastic tool if you want to go for core. You first of all have Sanctification that you can play around, but also the explosion itself usually takes 5% off the core. So that's another tool that they could use if need be.
Zealots thinking about banning out the Sonya. Is that someone that we feel like we need to ban on this battleground? We know her strengths, but she's fallen off for a lot of teams. I don't think Fnatic has really shown her too much.
No, the interesting part for me is that Zealots is the team that bans out Sonya, since they're usually the team that goes straight for her. And when we talk about Sonya, so far Fnatic has played her once, and it was a success. They won the game, but they have only a single game with her. Where when we look towards the Zealots, they have 4 games played with the hero, with mixed success, since they're currently sitting at a 55% win ratio, so they had 2 victories and 2 losses.
Sure.
But they are the teams that have the highest involvement rate on Sonya, so especially Zarmany prefers the hero.
Yeah.
But in this case right now, they were thinking about banning her out. They decided in favor of the Haka. So it's still a factor where the Zealots could say, okay, we want to pick Sonya for Zarmany.
Now Fnatic thinking about their 2nd ban. Typically we've been seeing a lot of Malthael bans on this battleground with the double tank popping in. It is Tyrael, who's a little bit easier to deal with and has more ability there. They're going to go ahead and move into Arthas as the ban for Fnatic. So there is a chance that we could just have a solo tank Tyrael and take away an Arthas to prevent that Greymane from having too much of an issue.
Yeah. And you've been talking also about Uther a bit earlier. I think one of the reasons that we also have Uther taken this early is, first of all, that you have, of course, the counterplay against Genji that you highlighted. But you also take Uther away as the synergistic hero with Greymane, because that combo is really successful so far. And we've been talking a bit about how well Uther is doing overall, but let's focus at Europe for just a second here. He currently has 15 games played and has 11 victories, so he's sitting at a 73% win ratio,
Wowzer.
Which is absolutely insane. Going into a new phase, we have at the beginning for the first, let's say, 2 play days, we have a couple of heroes that have really high win ratios, but usually those start to go farther down towards the 50% mark, and then at that point, if a hero has 55-60% win ratio is already considered a very strong hero and a very powerful one. Uther at this point sitting at 73 is insane. He is the highest, he's the hero with the highest win ratio above the heroes that have been played for more than 50%. So in the top 15 that has been played so far in all the games, his win ratio is just absolutely stellar.
Uther far away the best right now in Europe. Going over to the 3rd and 4th pick, Zealots move straight back into someone that they are comfortable with, the Sonya for Zarmany. Muradin will be there for Mopsio, so we have that big front line that can put out damage and also shut down a target when jumping on them. And it makes sense against a Genji and a Greymane. Those are targets that are pretty low, and if you have Sonya or Muradin even on them, it's going to be very difficult for them to be effective. So big pick up here from Zealots, it's very comfortable for them. Now over to Fnatic, what do they want to grab here to make sure they have control to hold that Sonya down?
I just want to talk about Sonya for another second, because as I said before, they really like to play her, but just to put that in numbers, we currently have outside of them only 3 other teams that have played Sonya at all. That's Fnatic, Dignitas, and Leftovers. And all 3 of these teams have played her once, one time, whereas this game is now the 5th time that the Zealots play her. So in Europe, they are really basically the only team that has such a high priority on the hero, which is pretty incredible. So they have their own meta, and that's something that we have highlighted a lot with ADRD in particular. So definitely something to watch out for in the past, and that could be something that teams target as well.
Speaking of ADRD, Tassadar coming in for the 5th pick. It's something that we've seen in North America, the Hanzo and Tassadar together often and utilized a lot. We are getting it here in Europe. Now, of course, there is some synergy as well with Sonya being able to get the shields too, keeps her alive a little bit longer. You get the resistance of 4, but still a little bit different here for Europe.
Yeah, and talking about the North American preference for Tassadar, we have seen the hero played a lot in Korea as well. In Korea, Tassadar has been played 6 times. The interesting thing is he hasn't won a single one of them.
Wow.
He lost every single game in Korea, but in North America, as you said, over the past few days, we've seen Tassadar everywhere, especially in the combination with Hanzo. And he's currently looking really strong in NA. He has 11 games played, 8 wins and 3 losses, but Europe hasn't really picked up on the hero that much yet. So this is basically Zealot saying, hey, we've seen it, we think this could be strong, let's try that out. And I'm actually curious if this is going to bring Tassadar back now. Because in Korea, as I said, it has a really low win ratio. Koreans don't really like to play much with Tassadar at this point in the current meta. But it could definitely be something where Europe looks at North America and says, I like the thought process, let's try that out, give it a shot. And maybe this is what brings Tassadar back into the meta, because when we look at last year, he was a first pick, first back in basically every single game.
And ADRD loved him last year too, played him very often. There was a phase where we saw him for about 2 to 3 weeks getting the Tassadar as an expert at the time, was willing to move into the shielded type of composition. Zarya as well was a big deal. So if anyone brings it back, ADRD is definitely a good catalyst to do so. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here as we move into Battlefield of Eternity. Zealots hoping to get their first matchup win this weekend over Fnatic.
And game number 1 starts us off on Battlefield of Eternity. And to the left side, we have the Zealots with Chris on Hanzo, Mopsio on Muradin, Zarmany as expected on Sonya. We see ADRD on Tassadar, and Uther is being played by Shad.
Fnatic on the right side, Mene playing the Genji, Breeze on a Nubarak, Quatnix on Greymane, Smexy on Lucio, and Bad Benny is Tyrael.
Now, as already mentioned before, we have both of these teams now in their 3rd game on Battlefield of Eternity. Both of them played twice on this battleground, and both of them won their games, which is really interesting if you think about the Zealots win record overall. They played 9 games, and they only won 3 of them. So 2 of the games that they won were on this particular map. And it's also their map choice. They choose it every time they can, and so far they are very successful on Battlefield. The question is, can Fnatic take them down here?
We'll see if Fnatic can do that. Quick note on the Tassadar build, moving into the Storm at the level 1. That's actually very characteristic of ADRD. He loves that Storm build into the level 16 where you get double Storms. He likes softening up that back line or front line in this case, with Fnatic having some small helpful heroes on the opposing side, stressing out that Lucio. We'll see if they can get that far, if it pays off at 16, as Zarmany in the bottom lane has found a few opponents coming towards him. A heal comes out from Shad, and Zarmany almost survives.
Oh, that just... I mean, that was an amazing kill by Fnatic, but it also feels bad if you're Zarmany. There's 4 heroes converging on your position, and you are juking half the spells, you're spin to winning outside into the gate, and you think, okay, finally, I survived it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's Greymane, the cocktail comes through, and you get killed by the explosion. Great play by Zarmany.
Yeah.
it feels a little bit bad that he got killed there, but also from Fnatic, heads up play to make sure that they confirm the kill. They invested a lot of time and resources into getting it, and then in the end it was Greymane who delivered.
Greymane's cocktail is simultaneously one of the best basic abilities in the game and one of the worst to die to. You just hate that splash behind a wall when you think you get the safety. And Quacknick's got to be happy about that kill. And Fnatic takes a nice little experience lead there, getting that pick.
You know, this quick aggression that we saw is also once again initiated by Nubarak, and we've been talking about the Beetle a bit, but I want to also put that once again into the composition. If you look at what Fnatic is running here, it's a highly mobile composition where they can engage at any time with Nubarak and Tyrael. Greymane can jump in after. We have Genji with his mobility, and on top of all of that, Lucio as well. So this is a highly mobile composition that is designed to be aggressive. They really want to pick a target, jump in and take it down, and especially with the Nubarak going into Cocoon later on level 10, they can shut down Uther. And that is a really important tool to use when you want to eliminate a target so that he can't throw a Divine Shield out. The question, of course, is still, do we maybe see an adaptation on the side of Uther into a Divine Storm to counteract Genji? But either way, they will try to shut the healer down with Cocoon so that they can get the kill on their primary target. A
Divine Storm would put a lot on top of Tyrael to make sure he lands that Sanification at the correct time. The good news about Fnatic's composition too is that Lucio allows them to go for the hard dive and get on a target, but also to escape, walk away from a fight if they boost on out. Fnatic's composition is just wonderful for moving in and out of an engage. Zealots, however, can hold their ground. We'll see if they'll be able to pull that off too, especially when they get level 10.
Yeah, and talking also about Nubarak, Fnatic has played him 2 times already and they have not lost a game with him yet. Now, of course, they have only 7 games played so far. They lost 1 of those, and that was against Method. But it's still noteworthy that whenever they pick an aggressive composition, they tend to do fairly well with it. So at this point, the Immortals are on the map, and both of the teams are starting to fight over it. We're also seeing now with Tassadar and his level 4 talent, immediately him heading straight into Karla's Embrace. So the added lifesteal. Shad is in trouble, by the way, here on Uther. And Main is already dancing around, seeing to maybe go in for a kill. But the Zealots are responding in kind, pressuring Bad Benny with a 4 versus 5 as Uther is currently topping his hit points and mana pool off at the fountain.
And Zealots help with the defense. They're able to hold on the bottom side. Sonya runs the top to be able to make sure that she is continuing to soak. This has actually become a little bit more common here in our Europe games. Getting the Merc camps on the early side, pushing the side lanes. A lot of split pushing has been occurring instead of going for a straight up all-out brawl on the Immortal race.
Yeah, the interesting part is also, we talked about this in the previous days, but if you just tuned in and if you haven't watched all the matches here on HGC this weekend, we have again a double support composition on Battlefield of Eternity, and this is really the map where double support is still being played. Fnatic, of course, running the solo Lucio here, but we have Tassadar Uther on the side of Zealots, and nearly exclusively all of the double support combos that we've seen so far in 2018 have been on this map. Fnatic at this point, though, is starting to heavily engaging onto Mopsio and Shad here, pushing them back, and have now a bit of a timing window that they can use to try rushing the Immortal. They have Greymane, which really works well with it too, and the Nubarak stays in the meantime up at the top to just deliver another quick stun and slow down the Zealots.
Good disengage from Zealots. Chris is able to jump away, obviously using that natural agility, but the Murd and Thunderburn coming in at that level 4 to help ride in the slows onto the big group up from Fnatic, making it much easier for them to disengage. The race, though, goes a little bit far forward into Fnatic's favor, about a good 700 to 800 health ahead, and Zealots are going to be setting up on the defense on the right side.
Yeah, we also have now Genji in an interesting spot here, already trying to see if he can maybe move in from the side. Nice push of the experience from both teams on the lane. Shad is very far out, way too far out as Uther, and he goes down. Great engage by Fnatic here to get the kill. They have the early level 7 talent as well, and would love to force another fight here. Smexy going in with the boombox to just provide a bit more vision, as they are now leaving Quacknick's on the Immortal to take the first objective.
Gotta love it here. Fnatic does a great job of controlling the concave that Zealots were trying to set up to move in and get some damage on the Immortal. This allows for Greymane on the right side to race down, and he is winning it heavily here for Fnatic. Already getting chunked down to less than 2,000 health. At this point, Fnatic can go ahead and commit to the idea of bringing the Immortal, and they do, and they'll win the first Immortal of the game.
Yeah, and at this point, looking at the talents, we actually do not see Cleanse. Guardian of Ancient Kings has been taken by Uther as his level 7 talent.
So looking for that extra armor.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because basically at this point, there are not too many things on Fnatic's side that can really trigger it. Mainly it's a Nubarak that they have to watch out for. That's actually something where Fnatic could decide to play around it. But the idea is obviously, once that the target is chosen by Fnatic, to make sure that it can stay alive for longer. And in this case, they value the extra armor over the cleanse.
Let's see how that pays off there for our Uther player. As ADRD takes a chunk from Mane. Remember, Tassadar has lost some health points in the last couple of patches, so he is not as robust as he used to be. He is quite vulnerable.
Yeah, putting that to display already. Zealots losing the top 4 here, and Fnatic is starting to get far ahead in experience by now sitting at a 1.5 level lead. And they are heavily converging onto Sonya here. And I don't think there's a chance for Sami to get out of this one. This is looking really, really rough. Smexy is just waiting for the boop, doesn't even have to pull it off early, and that's the kill against Sonya. A great move again by Fnatic. And it highlights what I talked about earlier, the strength of their composition. Mobility. They're fast across the map. They have the mobile heroes. They use it to get another kill against Sonya, and this gives them the early level 10 that they can now use to put even more pressure onto the bot lane in the second fort with the help of the camp that they're currently taking.
Zealots for now just have to worry about getting level 10. They're a level and a smidgen behind of their opponents. They'll send Murder in the top side to work on grabbing that experience, a little bit on the safer side, as they wait for Fnatic to reveal themselves on the map. Fnatic setting up for another push on the fort, though, as they grab the mercenary camp to the south, and they bring all 5 members down here. They want to open up the battleground and push their advantage.
And we've been talking a lot about Uther and how stellar he looks with his win ratio, but let's talk a bit about Lucio. He hasn't really been played as much as, let's say, Malfurion, Rhaegar, or Uther, but he's sitting still at a 63% win ratio with 9 games played. So with that in mind, he is doing fairly well when he's chosen. And on this map, Fnatic prioritizes the aggression and the swift rotations between lanes, and it really works out well for them. 3 kills against 0, nearly a 2-level lead, and they are dominating this game so far from start to finish. Zealots really need their heroic abilities and need to find a good team fight where they can shut a few of those plays from Fnatic down and gain momentum themselves to claim an objective, because right now, things are looking pretty bad for the blue team.
Yeah, they're hurting, but you can't deny it. Dragon Zero at level 10 has been powerful for many teams, especially in some comebacks here. So Dragon Zero coming on at 10 will allow for Sonya and Murden to get the fight they want. Tassadar can go Arcan as well if they need some more damage, but Sarmony just having a rough day here as Fnatic's mobility continues to exploit him.
This is getting worse by the moment. Divine Shield has been taken by Uther, so he doesn't try to go for an added stun against potential Genji engages. And that means, again, that the primary target for Cocoon by Breeze will be Uther. Call the target, move in, Cocoon Uther, make sure there's no Divine Shield, and then blow the hero up. That's what they're going to try and do here. Sonya's on her way back, but still, Zealots fighting a 4 versus 5 for now, and Fnatic has won the halftime show.
Zealots now are in a position where they have to get a little on the aggressive side against Fnatic, which is scary against a mobile comp, meaning that if you are overextending just too much, Lucio can boost your team in, Genji flying across the map, and Greymane finding a target equals certain deaths. The Zealots will have to make sure they control the middle of the map here and poke where they can. Yeah,
great play with the camp here. I mean, at this point, Zealots haven't even taken their own, so Fnatic now has another spot that pushes against the Zealots up at the top lane. Eventually, the blue team will have to react to it, and Fnatic can just bide their time. They already de-push the top lane with Genji, help that camp to advance even faster, which means that there will be a reaction. And once Fnatic sees that happening, they can make their own play here.
They can peel Tassadar back, and they do. Tassadar has some decent wave clear. Cyanic Storm coming in. That means they have Sonya, who's in that front line, who can put up damage, still here.
But here's exactly what we just talked about. Tassadar shows at the top, and immediately Fnatic starts engaging. They go in, they're trying to go for the kill. Their shield comes out. Breeze is in a bit of trouble. Needs to be careful. Gets the Cocoon out, but he's still forced. Can they get the counter kill? Divine Shield on Chris with Hanzo allows him to escape. And Zealots get the kill. Fnatic losing out on their tank at the front line, and now they might even lose Bad Benny.
Chris has an arrow. He can narrate here. Here's the arrow onto the Immortal. Right in this area. Bad Benny is low, able to get away. Quadnix escaping at the same time, but Zealots have gotten Bad Benny out of the fight, and Quadnix as well. They can turn around and look at the Immortal.
Great move here by Zealots. Fantastic arrow by Chris. Well done. And Lucio nearly saved them. At this point, it really looked for a moment as if Smexy could make it happen. Wasn't quite the case. The problem, of course, that the Zealots still have to face is that even with the kills that they just got, they lost the Immortal. So this is another objective pushing for Fnatic. But maybe with another kill against Mane, he's able to jump out. Bad Benny should have his cooldowns ready too. Breeze is back to business. They're starting to move in, and they're going immediately for the pressure plays around the Immortal.
trying to fight here while Greymane's not up and available. Tassadar has to snake his way down.
They're 13. It's nearly there. They only need to clear the wave.
13 with one turret. We'll be here. Mobsio turns around the Stormbolt. Zarmany gets in as well, trying to force his fight, but Breeze just kites backward with Smexy helping him out. Fnatic is about to hit that 13. There it is. And they are all grouped up around their Immortal.
Yeah, Greymane is back now as well, so they can go for it. And they are going to try and push that keep. Not necessarily going to be able to take it down, but there should at least be some damage to it. And that would allow them to move in later on. Maybe they can even kill it. If they are able to get a kill here, it could definitely happen. At this point, they're starting to push the Zealots back. Archon getting popped. We have arrows being hit all over the place. Breeze is low, but the sound barrier of Smexy keeps him alive. And Keep itself is down to half HP. Zealots able to save it, but it was still a close call, and Fnatic has put a lot of damage onto it.
Yes, Zealots have at least kept their Keep alive, which is great for them, and they hit 13 soon. It's going to be helpful for Tassadar when he's able to grab the ability to negate damage. He can pop that on top of Greymane. 16 the double storms coming in. So Zealots have weathered the storm. They've been behind, but they're making improvements here to get back in the game.
Yeah, they're still a level behind, but you are absolutely right. They got 2 kills, they played well around them, and they got the most out of the 2 kills that they could have gotten. A good defense against the Immortal, not losing a keep was important, but they haven't taken any structures yet. And once they take those forts, they will close the experience gap quite quickly. But for now, Fnatic is still in the lead here. 4 kills against 2, doing very well with their composition. We have Tyrael at the top lane splitting, whereas the Zealots are heavily committed to the bottom lane with 5 heroes.
And the nullification was picked at 13. So if Genji goes in with a Dragon Blade and isn't near the sink, the nullification can pop out, and that will negate his damage for 75% for 4 seconds, meaning that they can effectively take him out of the fight. Allow Sonya to get in the back line and be aggressive. So that's a big power spike there for Tassadar. Going to be able to help keep his team alive as long as he doesn't get take it out himself on that back line.
Yeah, camp at the top lane is now taken, and that is also because Fnatic pushed out the top lane, so they have very clear vision of what's happening there and can safely take the camp without having to be afraid that someone starts to invade into it. At the same time, Fnatic is now waiting around their own camp, which is going to spawn any second. There we have it, and starts to clear it. So there's a couple of seconds left, but this is going to trigger a double camp pushing through the top, and the Zealots will have to heavily react to it, because it is going to attack the keep, whereas Fnatic could even think about sacrificing the fort at the bot lane if they don't want to react to Zealot's camp and instead try to focus the objective.
I think Zealots are equipped to defend it though. The Tassadar is really helpful here at that side storm. They're actually going to move in on their Immortal for defense. It's pretty aggressive here. Go straight for it. Mobsio does hit a Stormbolt on top of the Tyrael, takes some damage as well, so Tyrael gets bruised, but able to back up for now. The camp did make it to the fort on the bottom side, and Fnatic decides to defend.
Yeah, but they sent Bad Benny, and he is not gonna... I'm actually not certain why you would send Tyrael down there. That makes very little sense to me. He's not gonna have any chance to take that down before the fort is taken apart. So right now, they just want to make sure that they have a little bit of poke towards the Immortal, I suppose. But this is really the big problem for the Zealots, and now AD already moves back and starts hitting the storms. But this is a double camp that he has to deal with, and that allows Fnatic now to move in.
Fnatic does move in. It's during a halftime show. Tassadar spending his time clearing on the top side. Where does the Immortal spawn? Down here on the bottom. Fnatic actually goes in straight for a fight. They find Zarmany and Shad on the back left, while Mobsio takes a beating on the right. And
Tassadar is still just jumping around the camp and now heading back into the fight, so there's still a push going on at the top lane in Fnatic's favor, and they are starting to close in on level 16 as well. Zealots are on a clock here, and this camp is getting value. It has already destroyed the wall and is now starting to make a play for the keep itself. There are only a few of the casters around, and another storm will definitely eliminate them. But if you look at Fnatic's experience with Greymane taking the waves at the bot lane, they're hitting 16. And they already are in the lead when it comes to the race.
That they are. And Tyrael is actually looking for the Tassadar on the back line. Whenever he comes in, he's going to be able to spot him for the team. Bad Benny should be able to get the fight that he wants. Does go straight in for Chris. Chris jumps over the wall, getting out of there for now, but Mane chases him.
Yeah, Breeze going out, but moving straight into the Immortal stun. Still, the Immortal is losing hit points, and that's a big part of it. We have Mane again soaking a bit more experience with Genji at the bot lane. So Fnatic is continuously, when they have to retreat, moving onto the lane, pushes them out, and they are still way ahead. They're starting to attack Zarmany here. Doubt that they can get the kill, but as long as they can defend their own Immortal, that's all they have to do. Tyrael jumps in from the back once more, and there's still an open avenue towards Zealots Immortal where they can just try and chunk the last 6,000 hit points down.
Shad gifting that armor to Zarmi made it much easier for him to stay alive on that Breeze engage. Turns around, looks at Tyrael. Tyrael jumps behind the Immortal, gets pushed away. Thanks to stun, we'll have to use Sanification. Mobsco trying to retreat. He's low on health. Quacknix going for the kill. Quacknix will get it with Mene.
Mene goes in, and he wants more than that, of course. At this point, the Cocoon had already been used. We see the arrow coming out, and Benny was actually stunned and might fall here, barely moving out. But the important part is that they just won the Punisher. And now, of course, Mena still on the move back, not dying here to Hanzo. Breeze is low. Smexy trying to save him, but Hanzo is able to deliver. Chris with a kill against the Nubarak, making it a 4 versus 4 now, but still the Immortal pressure. Thanks to Fnatic. And they can even tap off at the fountain. They still have the fort at the top lane, can easily move back, top of the hit point pools, and now they're going to focus on the bot lane so that Zealots are in this weird loss-loss situation where they have to decide which lane they want to defend. And if they make an awkward split happen, that could work out, but it's a risk where they could lose a hero and it could snowball against them.
Well, they decide that defending the top keep is a little bit more important here as they go straight for the Immortal, putting their damage deals up there. ADRD can delay for a while here with the double storm dropping on top of the minions. Oh my gosh, they're not even going to save this keep here as it continues to get focused down. They're going to lose both.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if they actually will. They just saved the top keep, and they are saving the bottom keep as well.
They're
not
keep
losing
both.
either one. It's close. At any
close.
point, we could see Genji, for example, moving in. But right now, they still save both, and that is big. If they would have lost the two of them...
I can't believe they saved them both, though. Like, even with it being small amount of HP, I really thought one was going down, and a second one was definitely going to be close.
I was not quite sure if they would be able to save the top one, but the bottom one, I was pretty certain that they would be able to save it. Just simply because Tassadar has the shield for the keep.
True.
And his double storm at this point is so good to clear the wave as it pushes in. And Fnatic will be hesitant to push against the keep without minions soaking the damage. So the top one was a clutch call, though. And I actually think that at some point we will see someone move to the top and just simply take it apart. Mena, for example, could do that on Genji. The problem is you need to make sure that you can still escape, that you're not caught on the way back and taken down.
Well, we'll see if Fnatic gets that. As of now, Zealous control and are still in this game here as they don't have to worry about their catapults pushing into different lanes thanks to their defense. And they take the opportunity to push forward. They want Fnatic on this side of the map. And Fnatic is here setting up for defense while Zealots take out a keep wall.
Experience is the same, by the way. Zealots are really eager to get a couple of fights here because they take the camp early. So Fnatic is now in a situation where they could take their own around the Immortal time. Look how aggressive the Zealots are. They know they have to make something happen because their keeps are so low that eventually they're going to fall. And they try to win it here. They are starting to be massively aggressive and they want the kills.
Zarmni missing a spear. Turns around, misses another one too, goes a little bit too far, but the Tassadar shield with the healing should be enough to keep him alive. Mobsco gets hit with a web, able to escape. ADRD takes a chunk, but a big arrow comes out as Mobsco dives forward.
It's not enough. Here comes the sound barrier. Mena actually not hit by the sound barrier. Already used the Dragon Blade. Divine Shield is out, but Chris is low. Chris gets the shield just barely. Quacknix explodes.
Wow.
He goes down. The Zealots with a kill. Bad Benny jumping out. Mobsco misses the Storm Ball. That could have been the end of Tyrael. But once again, the Zealots with a kill here. Fnatic doing well and looking for an opportunity, but it's the Zealots with a quick counter engage that get the kill in the fight.
Have we been underestimating the Tassadar shield with a Hanzo? He was able to get a couple of big ticks of life thanks to that lifesteal.
I mean, they also got lucky with the last shield. He basically was already at negative hit points and somehow jumped out there. There's a few cooldowns still available. Keep also in mind that there's a big wave at the top lane. Zealots will lose the top keep if they do not respond to it. If they are caught here in the middle, in the fight, then they will lose the top lane. But I'm pretty sure that we will have them move to the top pretty quickly. They need to get those storms in because there's only one more minion wave on their own side that just prevents the minions from taking the structure down. But ADR has to go back in. He has to move back in. Greymane is back. So this is pretty bad territory for them. We saw the storm dropped at the top, but is it enough? That's the question.
They can poke.
Mena's there. Mena wants it. He just goes in, gets 2 hits in, gets 3 hits in, and the rest should be done by the minions. Oh no, in the meantime, it gets even worse. Fnatic engages in the 4 versus 5 that they have as sound barrier is out once again. Mena jumps into the backline. Top keep is down, but Nubarak is dead again. Fnatic being a bit too aggressive as Mena takes the top keep.
Zarmni landing the Poison Spear to help seal the fate of the Anubrak. Going straight for Quacknix too, who wanted to hop on top of a Hearthstone or even get out of there, but Zarmni chases him and gets the kill to have fallen. Bad Benny himself buying some time for his team, but look at the Immortal. Hanzo's already working on it on the bottom side, and this is going to be a massive Immortal. Zealots have a chance to win here.
Fnatic is throwing the game. Fnatic is currently absolutely throwing this game. They were far ahead, and then they made some questionable choices where they engaged into 4 versus 5 situations where they stuck around for too long, and now they have 21 minutes into the game. They have to deal with a 100% shield Immortal. The saving grace for them is that up at the top lane, there's still a fort. If not for that, Zealots would go for it, but look at the bot lane. The keep gets taken out.
Not anymore.
Bot lane pressure. They want to force the portal. They need to force the portal. They're
I'm
going
having
in.
flashbacks right now.
Zealots have to portal. Breeze is currently stopping them. They have to. Yes, that Immortal is strong and the race is great, but they have to go back here. Keep in mind what I said at the beginning. Bad Benny has Sanctification, and the Tyrell Explosion is also taking another 5% off.
Fnatic staying here. There are too many people being stopped. Breeze stops the back on the backside. A arrow does come off. It's coming across the map here, but the core continues to fall. It's down to 40. It's down to 30. Archon pops here for ADRD to deal with Breeze, but it doesn't matter. The core, look back at the core on the other side. It's falling down. Sanctification. And Fnatic, with another core call, has won 3 games this weekend, even though they were in a situation where it looked like they may be losing.
Fnatic takes it. And I mean,